We are here today with an Israeli student from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. You mentioned that you guys were under attack about an hour ago, so how did that affect you?
We are the lucky ones, I guess. I live in Tel Aviv, which is right down in the center of Israel, and most of the attacks by now have been in the more southern regions closer to Gaza. Um, so we have, a couple of attacks a day by now. We run down to the shelter and we wait to hear the Iron Dome, usually intercepting the missiles. So far, it's very, very unpleasant, very hard to concentrate on anything. Me and a lot of my friends try to volunteer whatever we can, whether it's food, necessities, blood donation, stuff like that for wounded. And some of my friends are have been conscripted to reserve duty. Um, and everything is sort of on standby by now, in a sense, and we're constantly on edge.
And when you say like go to the shelter, what exactly do you mean by that?
Depends on where you are and what you have. So most buildings have some sort of basement, which is for the entire building, and its main purpose is to defend against, is to shelter down in place in case of a rocket attack. We've had those here since I remember. I mean, I remember them. I remember them since the first Gulf War in 1991. There have been some attacks before that, but it wasn't very commonplace. But the shelter building, there are newer apartments where there's a room inside every apartment that is reinforced, which makes it easier for people to go. Now, as I said, we're in Tel Aviv. We're sort of lucky because we have very good automatic detection in the Iron Dome, and from the time of the siren to the time of impact, we have about 1 minute to go down to the shelter, which is a lot of time in a sense. Places more nearby Gaza have like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. So they essentially live in a shelter.
You mentioned that the attacks so far have not really been near your region of Israel. Are you scared about like the attacks coming up towards your area, and like what do you think could possibly occur if that happens?
Right now, I'm more worried about friends and family who have been drafted or are closer to either Gaza or Lebanon. Most of the victims, most of the fatalities by now have not been from rockets because, again, we have the Iron Dome and stuff like that and sheltering in place. But this terrorists that just took over like small villages near Gaza, and that's been thwarted, I hope. So I don't think there's a lot of chance for terrorists to, march up to Tel Aviv. But yeah, I mean, we have had several rounds of these, rocket attack going back and forth between Gaza and Israel in the last few years. This is by far the scariest, the scariest this has been, and the closest to home, and I mean, just god awful scale of death. So yeah, I'm more distraught than scared, I guess.
How has this like affected your friends and family? Are you able to contact them in any way?
Yeah. We have almost like a ceremony of anytime there's a siren, wherever my friends or family are, we check in on each other, make sure everyone's okay. Not really sure what we'll do if someone says, "Oh, actually, we've been hit." But we have friends and suggested to friends that if something happens to them, they can come be with us, or the other way around. True for family as well.
Have you noticed like any like false information or anything that like could potentially like cause more issues? Like have you like read into anything like that?
And no, there are all these hot takes, this, whether it's a professor or a celebrity, this person said something extremely stupid, and then this guy corrected him, and that female professor said that they were wrong and they were wrong, and what about the plight of the Palestinians, and what about people in Lebanon? And I mean, uh, it's also a bit hard to track and a bit hard to engage because it's also here. So I'm not really, in a sense, I also try to consume content which is not about this because I'm living it right now. So I don't need it coming at me from my phone screen and my computer screen at all times. I mean, I can hear the rockets here. I don't need someone to tell me, oh my God, there's been another rocket attack in Tel Aviv, hashtag free Palestine or something. I don't know.
How does it affect like, your normal daily life? Like you say that you feel like you're not very productive right now, but even like everyday things like grocery shopping or like just stuff like that, like how has it been affecting you in that way?
I live in a neighborhood which is, it's sort of like it's not the geographical downtown of Tel Aviv, but it's a place where a lot of bars are, a lot of clubs are, a lot of restaurants, a lot of coffee shops, and everything looks like a ghost town. Basically, there's most places are either closed or only open for like takeaway. It sort of kind of looks like the strictest part of the COVID lockdowns, a little bit. Very few people in the streets. I had to do a few, like you said, like grocery shopping and stuff like that with my car, and very little traffic when there's usually rush hours. Most people have either, as I said, maybe gone to maybe places which are even farther away from rocket attack, or are sort of just staying in place. A lot of workplaces are more than accommodating to work from home. So in a sense, again, pretty similar to the COVID lockdowns. And everything is very, very much on edge. As I drove to, whatever I had to do, I drove much slower. I didn't hear the radio, which I usually do because I'm trying to always be on the lookout in case there's a siren and I need to take shelter.
So do you feel that this situation has brought like the community of Israel more together?
For sure, 100%. It's always this was always the case and always will be the case, I guess. Especially when the attack is very heavily, as I said, like anti-Semitic. So are you Jewish?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so there's a famous Jewish joke that two Jews, three opinions. So Israeli society is very, very divided, especially these days, this year, especially on many, 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 many issues, including the Palestinian issue. So I think if the attack was, I don't know how to say it, much milder and maybe would have targeted more settlements rather than kibbutzim, which are more like mainstream Israel in a sense. I think it could have, kept Israel very divided. But the fact that this goes hand in hand with gas the Jews, and from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. It doesn't really matter if you're very religious or very secular or on the left or on the right. You band together as people of Israel against like a common foe.